What's up, everyone? Duran Torres again, School of Chrome Guide Service, SOC Flies, and today is episode 2 of the Steelhead pattern of the day. We're tying jigs still, and this is going to be a gray ghost. This one's tied on a 1/4 ounce black jig head with a 1/0 owner hook. We got some yarn. We have some ice stub, UV gray color in the body. Again, yarn in the tail, and a little bit of crystal flash here. Here we go. Start with your black jig head, 1/4 ounce. Again, start your thread and bring your thread back just about the point of the hook. Okay, for the tail on this one, this is a really low profile jig, awesome in clear water. And so this time we don't have rubber legs going on here. We don't have a lot of marabou. We don't have a lot of rabbit or anything like that that's going to be causing a big profile on the water. This is subtle, and it's meant for clear water stuff. Okay, tail is going to be white yarn. I'm just going to measure this white yarn, and I want the tail to be just past the bend of my hook. So when I measure it, this right here is about even with the back of the bend of the hook, and I'm going to go about 1/4 of an inch past the bend of the hook for my tail. Not a lot. Okay, 3 pinch wraps, 1, 2, and 3, just to get it secured down there. And then we're going to go and we're going to trim off the excess even with the front of that jig head. Okay, just like with the bugger series, we're going to want to take this yarn body and wrap it up. Increase your pressure as you wrap forward and back. We're going to go again, and we're doing this just to make sure the body of the jig fills out a little bit more and it's not so skinny. Okay, so I'll go ahead and take this and just cut some of those extra pieces off there. Okay, you have our tail. Next is crystal flash. Just a couple pieces on this. You don't need a lot. Again, this is a low profile jig, so I'm going to take 2 strands of crystal flash. And we're going to go 2 on each side. We'll tie these in on the side again. Starting with side nearest me. Couple wraps to get it in. Fold the tag end over. Couple wraps on that side. We always cut it at an angle, a little ways past the tail. So we have our tail, we have our yarn tail, we have our crystal flash, and then next is going to be our body. And this is basically the rest of the fly, or the rest of the jig. This is going to be ice dub, UV gray color, and we're going to use a composite loop or a dubbing loop technique, and I'll show you that in just a second. But I use these kind of loops a lot when I tie spade flies. They're called composite loops, where you're making a loop in your thread and you're putting all of your material inside of that loop and you're spinning it up, and it just creates a very strong loop or strong connection between your materials. And so when you wrap it, and just like you're wrapping a hackle, all these materials are bound together, and it makes for an awesome fly. And then you can take a pick or a toothbrush or a hook point, and you can pick it out, and you can make it as roughed up looking as you want, or you can make it as smooth as you want. So here's how it goes. Move your thread forward a little bit, and you're going to make a loop. Okay, going to make a dub. This is basically called dubbing loop. You want to judge your distance by about the length that your fingers can spread this way. Okay, you don't want a huge long loop. If you do, you're not going to be able to spin it well, and you don't want a real short one because then it won't run the length of your body. Okay, couple wraps in front, twist your thread around the loop, and then you're going to work your thread all the way back, and so your loop is secured back here. The reason why you twist it around is because you lock this loop in so where it's a tight point right here, so it's not spread out. So that means you can jam your materials into here without them falling all over the place. Okay, so bring your thread all the way back to the front again, and for this technique you're going to need a dubbing spinner. I can find mine. This is kind of just a homemade dubbing loop spinner. Put some extra weight in it, but you put your loop in there. If we run out of length on this one, I'll show you, then we'll just make another loop, but we'll see how it goes. So you pull your dubbing out. You want a good bunch of it like this, and so what you start to do with your dubbing is you just start to pull it apart like this. Pull it apart, lay it back over the top of each other. Pull it apart, lay it back over the top of itself. Pull it apart again, lay it back over the top, and what you're going to notice is that all these fibers in this dubbing start to become uniform and they become the same length. Okay, there you go. Okay, one more time. Pull it apart. And I'm going to take, you want to leave your dubbing in this little line that it is right here, this little stacked bunch, okay? This is what's going inside your dubbing loop. Open up your dubbing loop. Put your material inside there. Grab that other section that you peeled off and stuff that inside there as well. So now, and let your loop go down. Now you have dubbing inside of your dubbing loop. Okay? Push it up, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to spin this stuff. When you spin, you pinch the bottom of your thread, spin it, and then let it go, and it'll spin up. And you want to do this just a couple times, and you can start to see that the dubbing starts to get balled up in there, okay? Give it one more spin, and you'll kind of feel the tension on it. As you pull down like that, you'll feel the tension kind of build up. You don't want to spin it too much. You'll notice you'll know when you spin it too much because it'll break. Your thread will break, and you'll know that you haven't spun enough if your materials are falling out of it. Okay, there you go. This is where your toothbrush comes in. You can use a pick, you can use a hook point, you can use any other sharp object. I use a long needle a lot when I'm doing spay flies and the materials are more, they're firm and you're trying to break through them. But in this case with dubbing, I just take my toothbrush and I just lightly pick this out until I have the consistency of the body that I want. Both directions, rough it up a little bit. I don't want this body to be slim. I don't want it to be neat looking, but I don't want it to be extremely bushy. So I just pick it out till I get the consistency I want. Then you basically wrap this dubbing loop just like a hackle. Peel your fibers back and wrap through. Every time you wrap, you peel your fibers back. Okay, peel them back, go forward, peel them back, one right in front of the other. And I'll show you in just a second. It's going to look kind of funny right now, like it's laying down a lot, and it doesn't look quite like I want it to yet, but I'll show you a trick as soon as we're done here on how you get that fixed. You get the consistency you want. Okay, keep wrapping until you get this right to the front of the jig head. Tie it off. Again, when I tie off, I go 2 wraps in the front, or 2 wraps in the back, 3 to 4 in the front, go back to the back again, and I just kind of alternate back and forth a few times until I have that thread secured. Okay, the fly or the jig is done. I'm gonna give a handful of wraps just to make sure everything is pinned down, and I'm gonna give it a whip finish. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my first whip finish, and then I'll give 5 to 10 for the second whip finish. Trim my excess. We'll go with some head cement here. Okay, head cemented down. Now this is when you can get your toothbrush back out again, or you can get your pick out again, and you can make this body look the way you want it to look. It's still bunched up to me. Okay, so it's still kind of like mashed down a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll just take this thing and I'll rotate it around, and I'll pick it until it gets to where I want. If there's, like right now, this looks like there's too many long stragglers in here that I don't like, so I'll just pull them out. Okay, the stuff that pulls out really easily in these kind of dubbing loop flies are the material that's going to come out anyway when you're fishing it. Okay, all the stuff that's not going to come out when you pull and you're rough on it, that stuff is the material that's going to stay in there. That's what you're looking for. Any of this excess stuff that looks kind of all right here, in the beginning, it's going to come right out when you're fishing it or when you get it in a fish's mouth. So you can be rough with it. Make sure your stuff's tied in well. Rough it up a little bit. There you go, very low profile. Clear water.